Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Tiff, this is my channel, welcome. I love to craft, I'm addicted to crafting. I always have to be sewing, knitting, beading, and everything in between. But today we'll be doing a very exciting, special project. I will be taking you through the whole process of how I will be making my bridal hair comb. Yes, I am going to make my hair comb for my wedding day, which I'll be wearing. So I'm going to take you through the process. So firstly, what I usually do, especially for beading projects, is sketch out my project, then write down the techniques and lay out my beads, make sure I have all the beads I need. So I'll show you that first. But yes, it will be super sparkly. There'll be lots of Swarovski crystals. It'll be super epic. And guess what? I'm gonna teach you how to make it. It'll be super fun, so let's get the show on the road. Okay, so I started some sketches. This is my original sketch. It's very whimsical, very pretty, not too large of a sketch. But then I was doing some thinking, I did a second sketch, and I'm starting to like it a bit more. So we have these leaf patterns, and these leaves, I actually make them with seed beads, the little tiny seed beads. And I kind of like how they're at the end of the wire. It makes this comb a little bit more large, a bit more extravagant. So I think this is the design I'm gonna go with. It's really pretty. So these little squares I have drawn, these are actually the 4mm bicone crystals. I use those a lot. And these little tiny flowers I have drawn, I'm gonna attempt to do those with little tiny pearls. So it's gonna be a little bit of pearls in here as well. So let me show you what that looks like with the beads. Right. So these silver seed beads, this is what I'm going to use for the leaves, the leaf patterns, and even the petals within the flower. I'm not sure if I'm going to use the large pearls just yet. I think I might just stick with the smaller beads. It might look more elegant and more professional. But these are the clear seed beads I'm going to go with. Clear Swarovski crystals, sorry. I was debating if I was going to do like a slight color, but I'm going to keep it all clear. So these are 4mm. I even have the 2.5mm, just in case I want to do some further detail. And for the pearls, I think I'm going to use either these they're very light pink pearls, or I might just go with the white. These ones are really tiny, but they have a little bit of like a blush to them. So they're really pretty. I could even use them for like the middle of the flower. Not sure yet what I'm gonna do, but I'll probably incorporate them somehow. And yeah, so this is what it's gonna look like. Oh, so I did start a few months ago. I did start making this comb. This is what I had made prior. And as you can see, I used the vintage rose Swarovski crystals. Well, however, this comb did not work out because when I matched it to my wedding dress, these vintage rose color was too dark for the wedding dress. So it did not match at all. But if you can see, I did put some of the tiny 3mm bicone crystals on the edge of the petals. So it looks kind of pretty, makes them a little chunky looking, but gives them more sparkle. Not sure if I'll do that again. So this was a good first attempt, but yes, this was actually off the original design. So we'll scrap that and we'll attempt this design. Really excited. Now let's get started. So I typically use this silver plated non-tarnish wire. 26 gauge is like the perfect gauge I use. It's pretty thin to maneuver and do small detailing, but not too thin that the wire breaks. And these are the 4 pliers that I usually use. You got the flat nose, the round nose to make loops, you got your cutters, and you got your bent nose pliers. So I always use those 4 jewelry pliers. So I have cut 5 arm lengths of the 26mm wire. I like to use more than I might need just so I have enough. So I get my beads ready. I usually use these small little containers to put the seed beads in so they're easy to access. I then find the center of the wire and get the round nose pliers and wrap the wire around half of the pliers to create a loop. So typically around the center of the pliers. Make it really taut, and then I twist the wire around to create a loop. So these loops that I create is my way of securing the hair comb onto the hair. So I'll use flat pins as opposed to a hair comb to attach the hair comb to the hair. So the flat pins just go through the loop, and that's how you secure the hair comb to the hair. I then use the flat nose pliers to tighten the twist to secure the loop in place. So next we're going to start on working on the flower. So I have just sewed on a 4mm bicone crystal, and I'm going to work on the first petal of my flower. So this bicone will be the center of one of the flower petals. So then I'm going to measure out about 1.25 inches length of wire where the flat nose pliers are, and pinch that and just bend the wire all the way over. And that will be the length, well, relatively the length of the flower petal. I just make it really tight, and pretty much you're folding it right over to double the wire at this point. So now create a space, about a 5mm space from the center of the flower to where your bicone is going to be secured in place, just so you have enough room to create the bottom of the flower petal as well as secure the flower petal in place. So here you can see it's just floating about 5mm away from the center of the flower, and I'm now going to twist this bicone into place. So just twisting the wire at the base of that bead. So this is what it looks like when the bicone is secured in place. When creating these flower petals, you always have to start with some kind of center bead, or you could even use seed beads, but they're secured in place on the middle of that rod. And then you have to pinch it and secure it in place, kind of at like that 3/4 point. And that's what it looks like, and that's how you begin the flower petal. Now I am adding 4 of the Delica silver seed beads, or you can use any seed beads you like. So this is going to be pretty much a substance of the flower petal. So now push the seed beads to the base of the flower petal and wrap those seed beads around the bicone. Then we're going to wrap that working wire around the center wire of the flower petal. And that's pretty much what you do. You just keep wrapping that working wire around that center stem to create a flower petal. And you keep creating flower petals until you make a flower. Typically, I like to create about 5 petals to create a full flower. Now I am creating the other side of the center of the petal. So I do like to try to add the same number of seed beads on one side as I do on the other side. Then when I continue with the next layer to build up the flower petal, I will add more seed beads on the second layer, and I'll try to mimic the same number of beads on the other side. Now I am working on the second layer of seed beads. As you can see, the shape of the leaf or the petal is really starting to come together, and you just have to maneuver and bend the wire so it comes to more of a point at the top. So I am doing 3 layers of seed beads to get a larger flower petal, and I am adding some itty bitty Swarovski crystals at the tip of the flower petal to just add a little bit more sparkle. So these are the 3mm bicones. Very tiny. Well, you're probably wondering what we're going to do with this stem poking out the top of this flower petal. Well, we're gonna get our flat nose pliers and we're just gonna bend it right back until you hide it and it's gone. So it's just really easy to hide with the pliers. And I like to bend it this way because we could also use it to hook it with a flat pin to secure it into the hair as well. It's a good trick. Then you continue those same steps, creating all the other flower petals until you have the number of flower petals you like to create a full flower. I typically like to create 5 flower petals for a full flower. And remember to leave a little bit of space between each petal. I like to leave about 1/2 inch, and then you can just twist and hide the wire behind the flower. Then you keep working like a busy bee. This is my fiance helping me with zoom control. Oopsies, don't mind my chip nails. So embarrassing. And the flower is done. I'm super excited with the way it turned out. I think it's super pretty. I did add some 6mm bicone crystals in the center, just a cluster of them to fill the center. And to bring the petals closer together, I just kept twisting the petal until all came together and twisted all the wires underneath. Alright, so now we're going to continue making the mini small pearl flowers throughout the hair comb. So here I'm just marking with the wire where I want to have the flower. So just right up against where the large center flower is, trying to close all the gaps. Now I am picking up 3 of the 3mm pearl beads as well as a center bead. I'm using here the 3mm clear bicone for my center bead. Now push all the beads down to the notch you made in the wire, and we're going to bend the beads around in a very tight circle so that the center bead then meets up with the first bead added on the strand. So it's a very tight circle. And then you're going to twist at that point to secure. Then you'll add 2 more of the pearl beads to finish off the rest of the flower. Next, you will find the end of the wire and sew through the beginning corner of the flower to secure the last 2 beads. So this is what the itty bitty flower will look like once it's complete. This is where I am currently at based on my sketch. Now I am adding a Swarovski bicone because I'm going to be making a leaf using the same technique as the giant flower with the seed beads. So I've also added not just the crystal, but a tiny pearl bead. Depends how big you want your leaf to be. You just add a bigger bead or just multiple beads. So for this leaf, I'm using clear seed beads instead of silver, just to mix it up a bit. Sometimes I like to fill the spaces with beads or crystals. So here I'm going to fill this space with a 6mm bicone crystal. So now we're going to make one of these long funky branches with a leaf at the end of it. Looks pretty cool. When making one of these long branchy leaves, you'll need to start making your leaf about 1.5 to 2 inches away from your work, depending on how long you would like the branch.
Okay, so now I'm going to add the thorns on the branch. So I'm going to use this 5mm bicone to get that thorn look. So at first I'm going to create a notch in the wire where the bead will sit. Then I'm going to twist the two pieces of wire together nice and taut all the way down until I want to create the next thorn on the branch. Alright, see how this comb is really coming together now? You can just keep building a headpiece just with these leaf patterns. So now I'm going to actually create another thorn branch pattern in the opposite direction. Alright, so here is where I'm going to pause my tutorial and save the completed comb for the grand finale, just to keep it a surprise.
So this is the completed bridal hair comb. I really like the way it turned out. I just quickly put it on to show you. But this is the actual hair comb I wore to my wedding. I got a ton of compliments and it matched my wedding dress perfectly. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial video. And if you liked it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.